Eagles Nation, stop what you're doing. We have breaking news that could change everything for Philly's defense. A veteran cornerback with years of experience in the NFL has just worked out with the Eagles, and if he signs, it could reshape this entire secondary. But here's the big question, is this the savior the Eagles desperately need, or just another veteran who's past his prime? The Philadelphia Eagles are making moves, and this one could be massive. Reports are out that the Birds just worked out Mike Hilton, the veteran cornerback who spent years tormenting offenses in Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. This isn't some random player, this is a respected veteran with 13 career interceptions and a reputation for being one of the smartest, toughest nickel corners in the league. But here's where things get interesting. Hilton was just cut loose by the Miami Dolphins on August 25. And that raises a huge red flag. Miami's secondary was terrible in Week 1, and yet they still decided to move on from Hilton. Why? Did he lose a step? Did he struggle in camp? Or are the Dolphins simply making a mistake that Philly could benefit from? That's exactly what the Eagles are trying to figure out. Because if Hilton still has something left in the tank, he can immediately help this team. He's not an outside corner, he's too small at 5 feet 8 inches for that role. But inside the slot, that's his kingdom. That's where he's made a career, using his quickness, instincts, and football IQ to shut down receivers, running backs, and even tight ends. And here's why this could be such a perfect fit. Vic Fangio, the Eagles' defensive coordinator, loves players like Hilton, guys who aren't just athletic, but smart. Hilton is a film junkie. He diagnoses plays quickly, reacts instantly, and plays with toughness way bigger than his size. Last year with the Bengals, Pro Football Focus graded him at 75.8 overall, starting caliber numbers, and gave him the best run defense grade of any cornerback in the NFL. That's right. The best. Think about what that means for the Eagles. You bring in a corner who can blitz, tackle, cover, and play with heart. Someone who can be moved around the field as a chess piece in Fangio's defense. Someone who doesn't back down from contact. That's the kind of fire this defense needs. But the question remains, is Mike Hilton still that guy? Or did the Dolphins cut him for a reason? If Philly signs him, we'll find out fast. Eagles fans, I need your take. Do you want the Birds to sign Mike Hilton, or do you think he's past his prime? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's see how confident this fan base really is. Let's talk facts, Eagles fans. Mike Hilton isn't just some random veteran hanging on for one last paycheck, his numbers prove he's been one of the most consistent slot corners in football for nearly a decade. Look at this body of work, 2022, overall grade 73.4, coverage 72.3, run defense 76.7. 2023, even better, overall 77.4, coverage 80.4, run defense dipped but still respectable. 2024, overall 75.8, coverage 68.4, and then, get this, run defense 91.7, the best in the NFL at his position. That's not just solid. That's elite consistency. And we're talking about a guy who's been a team captain, respected in every locker room he's been in. Players don't get voted captain unless teammates trust them. That says everything about Hilton's leadership and character. But here's where this story gets really interesting. If the Eagles bring Hilton in as the starting nickel, then what happens to Cooper DeJean? Does Vic Fangio move him outside, opposite rookie star Quinyon Mitchell? That's not some wild idea. DeJean played outside at Iowa, and while I personally think he's more dangerous inside as a hybrid weapon, Fangio may see him as the answer on the perimeter. DeJean has the speed, the versatility, and the toughness to handle it. We already saw him line up against CeeDee Lamb in Week 1 and hold his own. Even if Lamb got a slight step on him, it wasn't a total loss. And here's the real kicker, if Fangio is shifting DeJean outside, it might actually be Howie Roseman covering up a mistake. Because let's be honest, moving on from Darius Slay without locking down a proven outside CB2 was a gamble. Slay's 34, sure, but he still played well last season. Meanwhile, Isaiah Rodgers was available, affordable, and is now starting for Brian Flores in Minnesota, one of the best defensive minds in the game. The Eagles could have had him for pennies compared to what other corners cost. Instead, we're here. Adoree Jackson looked shaky in week 1. Kelee Ringo couldn't climb the depth chart. And now the front office might be scrambling to fix the hole by reshuffling the entire secondary. So, if Hilton signs, this isn't just about adding depth. This could completely change how the Eagles line up defensively. Fangio could unleash Hilton in the slot, move DeJean outside, and pray it stabilizes a secondary that already looks fragile. Eagles fans, tell me straight. Do you trust Howie Roseman's plan at cornerback? Or are these patchwork moves proof that he's gambling too much with this defense? Let me know in the comments. Eagles fans, let's be real here. What we saw from Adoree Jackson against Dallas was nothing short of a nightmare. He was targeted 7 times, gave up 5 catches, and every single one of those went for a first down. That's 103 yards on just 5 grabs, over 20 yards per catch. Add in a brutal pass interference in the red zone, and his overall grade came crashing down, 32.4 overall, 33.6 in coverage. That's bottom tier, and it showed. So now the Eagles have a tough choice. Do they keep pushing Adoree out there? Or do they shake things up, maybe let rookie Jacorian Bennett start outside, bring in Mike Hilton as the nickel behind Cooper DeJean, and develop a young guy like McWilliams on the perimeter? And let's not fool ourselves, you don't bring in a veteran like Hilton, with his resume and respect across the league, unless you're seriously considering signing him. The Eagles know their secondary is hanging by a thread, and Hilton could be the glue. But that's not the only move on the table. We're hearing whispers of bigger shakeups. The release of Kenyon Green tells us one important thing: the Eagles aren't panicking about Landon Dickerson's back injury. He played through pain against Dallas, and if the front office thought he was in serious danger of missing time, they wouldn't be letting depth walk away. That's a good sign for the offensive line. Still, the focus is cornerback. And if Hilton shows up to the Novacare complex and looks washed, don't rule out a wildcard option. Asante Samuel Jr. He's still a free agent. Yes, there are medical concerns after last year's shoulder injury and his ongoing neck stinger issues, but if he checks out? This guy has been a ball hawk since day 1 in the NFL, double-digit pass breakups in each of his first 3 seasons. And let's not forget his bloodline, the son of the legendary Asante Samuel Sr., one of the best interception artists in NFL history. Imagine him suiting up for the Eagles, just like his father. That would be a story. And then there's another roster wrinkle: the Eagles actually kept a fullback on their initial 53, Ben VanSumeren, only to lose him for the year with a torn patellar tendon, in the same leg where he tore his ACL last season. Brutal. Philly had just started to work him into the offense as a versatile weapon, a linebacker turned fullback who brought toughness and grit. Now, that experiment ends before it even had a chance to begin. So, Eagles Nation, this is the truth. The front office is moving chess pieces all over the board. Hilton, Samuel Jr., depth on the O-line, even the loss of VanSumeren, every move tells us Philly knows this roster is fragile. Week 2 against Kansas City isn't just a game. It's a test of whether this team can patch holes before they sink the ship. If you're Howie Roseman, what's the move? Do you sign Hilton, gamble on Samuel Jr., or trust the young guys? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know if you'd roll with experience or youth in this secondary. The Eagles keep shuffling the deck, and the moves say a lot about where this team is right now. Let's start with a familiar name, Kerry Blasingame. He's one of the best fullbacks in the league, and he once said that being around the Eagles culture reminded him why he loved football in the first place. That says everything about how this organization is run. He even went on to play in a Super Bowl with Philly, and while he's currently unsigned, you can't help but wonder if the Eagles pick up the phone. He knows the scheme, he knows the locker room, and he's still capable of playing if he decides to. But the Eagles didn't just stop at speculation, they made real roster moves too. Patrick Johnson has officially been signed to the active roster. This guy's been grinding, flashing in the preseason, showing he's more than just depth. He's a special teams weapon, and those players often become the heartbeat of a roster. Along with him, Philly added Montreal Johnson, a running back who turned heads in camp, and Holland Pierce, a promising offensive lineman, to the practice squad. To make room, they released Elijah Cooks, a wide receiver who had a strong start to training camp before a shoulder injury derailed his shot. The wide receiver room is just too stacked, and sometimes talent gets squeezed out. Now to the story everybody's watching, Jaylen Carter. His situation is hanging in the balance. After the spitting incident with Dak Prescott, the league hasn't announced final discipline yet. Reports say the NFL might settle on a heavy fine, since Carter already missed nearly an entire game after being ejected before the first snap. A full suspension on top of that would feel like piling on. Think about it, Dak spit first. Carter reacted. Yes, it crossed the line, but in the chaos of rivalry football, tempers explode. He's already paid the price by sitting out against Dallas. Fans can argue all day, but to suspend him again would basically be a 2-game punishment for one incident. That doesn't match what we've seen with other situations around the league. This is a team that thrives on fire and intensity, and Jaylen Carter embodies that edge. The Eagles need him on the field, not in street clothes. The league's decision could come any moment now, and when it drops, it'll say a lot about how the NFL views passion versus punishment. So here's the real question, should the Eagles roll the dice on a reunion with Blasingame, and will the league hammer Carter harder than he deserves? Drop your thoughts below, because this story isn't finished yet.